Hello everyone, I'm Kwok and today I'm going to showcase my game design document for my game development course. So first of all, my game title is Ash of Myth. So the game concept is the believer of the saint goes onto the adventure to fight or evade the myths to rescue the saint from the myth king and save the world. Right. So my main inspiration is first of all Mario, because in the end Mario is saving the princess, so that's my first inspiration. And the second inspiration is the SCP for my myth concept, which is a monster later I'll introduce. And the third inspiration I have is from Hollow Cure. So they have their special leveling concept, which is once you level up, you did not like just commonly add your stats or stuff. So actually they'll just like randomize four options from their skill database. So you will choose one of the skill to up. And finally, my last main inspiration is Genshin Impact for their dialogue box, so I can think of like the storyline and how it's gonna interact with the players in game. First of all, let me show you how the story starts. So 3 months ago, the world suddenly appeared some sort of monster, which we call it as myth. They have their own killing rules. As long as players don't go against the rule, they won't be able to kill you or damage you. So there's a princess which the main character admired long ago. Turns out to be a saint which has the power to purify myths. After the myth found out about her existence, they kidnap her in a dungeon and use a curse to slowly corrupt her and turn her into the strongest myth ever. Right. So the player, the simp, the hero, and the believer of the saint takes the path to fight and survive the myth along the way to save the saint before she corrupts into the strongest myth and destroy the world. And along the way, players need to try their best to kill the myth they met along the way, so the player can level up to become stronger and strong enough to survive or even kill the myth boss, right? So under the myth boss, there's like C rank myth all the way until A plus rank myth. And above the A plus rank myth, there's like special grade S rank myth, which are the myths which are nearly impossible to defeat. Nearly, listen carefully, nearly, alright? So to make it easier to understand, so C rank myths are the myth which has the ability or potential to kill 1 to 99 people until humans find a way to defeat them. So they still have their own civilization. So technically, humans still haven't extinct. So humans still have their own department to settle the myth, but not for the like extremely strong like the myth boss or S rank myth, alright? So the B rank myth has the ability or potential to kill 100 to 999 people until humans find a way to defeat them. And etc. etc. A rank myth has potential to kill 1000 to 9999. A plus rank myth is the myth that can kill more than 10k people. So they are the state between A rank and special grade rank. So they are stronger than every single A rank, but they haven't reached the state of S rank, which are nearly invulnerable. So S rank myth are the myths that are nearly invulnerable, and the final boss, the boss of the myth boss, okay, are the strongest among all of the myths. He is the boss, he is the king. Okay, back to the story. So in the end, the players will need to fight and win against the myth boss in order to save the princess. The fight will be extremely hard and unfair if the players are underleveled, so we encourage them to hunt a lot of myth before they fight the final boss. However, there are also hidden rules, which is determined if the player gets the Excalibur throughout the adventure or not. So, if they get the Excalibur through level up, alright, the moment players defeat Myth boss, it will transfer all of its remaining energy to Saint. Okay, because it's Excalibur, it's a very strong, it's a very holy sword. So it will stop whatever Myth boss can possibly do. So the Myth boss has no choice but to transfer all of its remaining energy to Saint. Then the player will need to face the Saint, which are partly corrupted, and try your best to survive 3 minutes until she releases the myth energy in her body. And finally, the players and Saint will go on to the adventure of purifying the remaining myth in the world. After 1 year, the world is completely rescued, so that's how the Excalibur route will go. However, for the no Excalibur route, so the moment players defeated Myth Boss, because there's no Excalibur to stop Myth Boss from using his Joker card, so the Myth Boss will gather the myth energy from the world, causing the suicidal explosion from the myth everywhere in the world to slaughter more human, and the energy gain will goes into the myth boss for it to revive for round 2. So in round 2, the players must defeat the myth boss, which gets even stronger. However, the players will receive Blessing of Saint, which help the player to defeat the myth boss. Okay, so because they have the Blessing of Saint, so it's slightly easier because the Saint isn't corrupted, okay, in this path. So after they defeated the myth boss, the world is left with 30% of the population. Hence, player and saint help human to rebuild their civilization. The leftover energy from the myth suicidal explosion causing the newborn babies to have stronger physical power than the human on the past generation. So you can kind of consider it as like the radiations, right? It's kind of like the same concept, but the energy itself is different energy. Okay, next. So we have our gameplay detail. So the players must survive under the rules of Myth, then kill the Myth so it can gain XP. And killing Myth and collecting Saint pigs. As we mentioned earlier, he is a sim and he is admired to the Saint. So whenever you get a picture of the Saint, he will get XP and become stronger, hence allowing the player to level up even more efficiently. And level up provides the option to strengthen not only on the player's stat, but also strengthens the player's ability. So they have 4 options. It's either learning new abilities or level upping the existing ability. And existing ability has the maximum cap of probably depends on maybe 6 or 5. It depends on how it goes when I properly develop the game, alright? So for our stat, we have first Vitality, VIT, which means HP, okay? And Strength, STR, which is physical strength. Intelligence, for magic power, later I'll introduce. Okay, and lastly, we have Dexterity, which is the attack speed. So, for my example of ability, we have Enchant Magic damage onto the weapon. So, the intelligence scaling is important if we are focusing on magic scaling enchantment onto the weapon. Or like every single ability we want to go for the magic path, then intelligence is important, strength is useless. Okay, and other than that, we have like deal AoE damage for any myth around the player, so it's like a AoE poison or something, which also intelligence obviously, and provide a shield which refresh every 30 seconds. This is scaling for with the vitality, and the one punch that deals massive damage if strength is greater than some sort of damage, which we will define when I properly develop the game. Alright. And next, let me introduce my elements of the game Ash of Myth. So we have 5. The first element is challenges. So the challenges for this game is the players will need to face different type of enemies. Some of their rule including, but not limited to, if you jump, you die. If you walk longer than 2 seconds, you die. And every second you are within its range, your HP will constantly reduce. If you attack the myth, your HP will get deducted instead. If you move within the red light symbol, you die. Etc, 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 okay? So, but of course, it isn't really instant kill lah, but the myth's damage is very high for the player to survive even one hit in early game. Hence, they need stats and items which allow them to take certain amount of damage, so they can win against the myth. Okay, next we have strategy for the players. So the minimal hint of the rules of myth will be provided, but not in text of course, probably like a label of red area or something. So the players will need to figure out what exactly is the rule, so they can survive and defeat the myth. Players will have a certain strategy of what path of stats and ability they wanted to choose, as we mentioned earlier. So like we have main strength and sub for dex, so it's strength and dex speed, or like maybe vitality if they want also. So we want a main strength and sub dex for the abilities which scale with strength. So the choice of ability is essential, so thinking how to combine them is the key of winning and save your princess. And nextly we have chance. So chance is the stat gained from level up, which stat the player want to increase. So the chance will also give you opportunity to get stronger. And the option of abilities appear when players level up. So it is randomized according to the ability database with respective probability. So each ability has their own probabilities, alright? And next we have a choice. So the players will need to think wisely to choose the abilities they want to learn or level up. So the ability learned will affect the late game player power, as there were abilities that can fusion combine when they are leveled up to level max. Some abilities don't have the power, the function to fusion combine with other abilities, but some ability able to fusion combine with one or more ability, as we can see in the example. And next we have is luck. So if the player is lucky enough to get the opportunity to level both the ability they desire until level max, then they are able to combine both of the ability. Okay, fusion combine, then become very strong. Also, there are chances to learn the ultimate ability, but at an extremely low probability of appearing at the option of ability when player level up. So it also takes a lot of luck. So if you're lucky enough, then you are very strong and it makes your life a lot more easier. And each ultimate ability has chance to change the player's outcome when facing the myth. And next is how my character will look. So the character will be very chubby, very small, and pixelated. So as you can see the example image, so it's like a very cute, but we can notice it's still a human. So I decided to do pixelated art because I personally not that good at drawing, especially I don't have like tablets and stuff for drawing. All I have is a mouse. So I choose to do pixelated so it's easier for me and it also looks more cute, I guess. When the arts get zoomed small, as in the character won't be so large, right? Then I believe it will look a lot cuter and it is barely recognizable the difference between the pixelated art and also the Photoshop illustrated art. And this is the reference for the background. So I referenced the background from Jump King. It will look somehow similar, not exactly, maybe 10% or 20% similar, but the theme of the game is like Doom kind of background. So of course the background will be more darker. So this is the reference of the ability. So as you can see, like the gold axe or like a shield. So it's all pixelated art. And finally, the reference for the myth. So as we can see, there's like pixelated art of kind of like a rabbit with hair, human hand, human leg, and also a snake with a human head with hands. So this is the example of myth where you guys can kind of reference and imagine. So that's all. Thank you so much.